Hi friends, I'm Les Mood, your host. Welcome to the Destination for Innovation series brought to you by the City of Bakersfield and GreenTech Network. Today we're in downtown Bakersfield with a special guest. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Les.
Absolutely. So for those who don't know you or even who do know you, could you share a little bit about yourself and maybe something that the world doesn't know about you?
Sure. I'm born and raised in Bakersfield. I am the founder of Hey Salty. We're a public relations and stakeholder engagement firm in town. We do work with public agencies, businesses, and nonprofits. And also, I'm currently the Interim Executive Director for B3K Prosperity. We're a region-wide inclusive economic development initiative and collaboration, implementation collaborative.
Mm-hmm. In terms of, communications and stakeholder engagement, all the things you're involved in, where would you say that your journey began?
I think my journey began actually in high school at an event, and I was the student leader, so I was like the de facto MC. And after that event, one of the parents who was there, one of my friend's parents, was like, "You should pursue a career in communications." And so I can kind of trace a through line from there. When I was in high school, also I participated in a program, the Ford Dream Builders. And I remember our night when we learned about how to do a press release and a media advisory, looking at the presenter who was the public affairs director for Area Energy and being like, I want to have a career like that. So after college, I stayed here in town, went to BC and CSUB, and then I actually was fortunate to start my career in the public affairs department at Chevron.
Wow, that's really impressive. You were a natural communicator early on. It took me a while to figure out that. In fact, I was like, after I went back to my college books from CSUB, I said, wait a minute, public affairs, that's what I'm doing now? Oh, it hit me, that's what I'm doing. So anyway, it's kudos to you for knowing that so early on. In terms of what you're doing today, what does your day-to-day look like? What are you doing to make the world a better place?
Day-to-day, there's a lot of running around involved, which is good because I'm training for the Bakersfield Half Marathon coming up in April. But really what it looks like is, meeting with clients, advising, and helping them with communications that solve complex problems. On the company side, our mission is to help businesses grow and communities prosper so that people are empowered to realize their potential and have a life of meaning. So we love doing purposeful work and how communications can be a vehicle to accomplish that. On the B3K side, our mission or our vision really and our North Star is to reduce the number of children in struggling working families in Kern County. So our work really looks at what can we do as a region to create more quality jobs and ensure that residents from every background, especially historically excluded communities, have opportunities to get into those jobs. So what are the job training they need and what's the job access barriers, otherwise preventing them from taking care of their families.
And in terms of creating these pathways and building prosperity for the community, obviously you've been through a lot. Could you share some challenges and maybe associated triumphs along the way that we could all learn from?
Yeah, so it's pretty neat. Behind the scenes of this, we're filming it towards the end of February. I'm coming up on 4 years of going out on my own as an entrepreneur. So February 29th was my last day at my previous job where I worked for another firm, actually out of Sacramento, living in Bakersfield. And then March 2nd, 2020 was when I went out on my own, just excited about launching a new company and everything that could come ahead. Well, we all remember what happened in the middle of March, literally 2 weeks afterward, the world shut down because of the pandemic. So I was really forced as an entrepreneur. We had one kid, my wife was pregnant with our second, she wasn't working outside of the home. I had to pivot. I had to learn how to be resilient, how to overcome, and really how to make a business happen to provide for my family. So I really just kind of look at that experience and that ability to look at the landscape and to discern what's the path forward that we need to go ahead and pursue. And then I lean into that and leverage that. And I think about it all the time, constantly, when I think about business and when I think about other projects. It's like, if I can get through that and build a relatively successful firm. I've got 4 employees plus myself, and if we're able to do this, then we can go ahead and take on a lot of other things too.
Well, congratulations on 4 years. That's awesome. You started during the pandemic. I think it was sort of a tipping point for a lot of people, including myself. And actually, welcome to the Pivot Club as well. My friend Janos, he calls it the Pivot Club. People who come on and talk about pivoting in their career. So that's really neat to hear. Do you have some advice that you would like to share for a new journey?
Yeah, I think Stephen Covey and his highly effective people, he talks about starting with the end in mind, beginning with the end in mind. And so I think that that's so important and vital. If you've got an idea you're trying to incubate, if you're trying to start a business, grow a company, have a social cause, is it's really like, what is the end that you're working toward? But then at the same time, have the humility to accept that even that thing that you thought was it may change over time. So, but you've always got to have a North Star that you're pointing to, and it shouldn't, move, 180 degrees that often. But that's, I think, the most important thing, because when you have that, this idea that, people who have a why can endure anyhow. So really understanding what that why is and that core purpose that you're working toward.
Absolutely. And speaking of the end and, what we would like to see happen in the world and the possibilities, obviously there's hurdles and roadblocks too, a lot of things that we would like to see happen. But the second part of the conversation is more of a thought experiment. Are you ready?
Okay, yes.
Okay. So the first question is, what is some low-hanging fruit that people can bite into or the communities can bite into to make the world a better place?
Pick up your trash. I think there's this big idea, and I talk with my kids. I've got 3 kids, 5 and under, so it's a busy house. But we talk about, clearing their plate, putting the dishes away, things like that. So this idea of really taking responsibility and ownership of it and not expecting that somebody else can do. So as a community, what is one very easy low-hanging fruit that we can all embrace is to just, if you see it, own it. With my own staff, I talk about taking responsibility as wiping the counters. So, you go in to wash your hands in the kitchen or the bathroom, inevitably water ends up on the sink and on the counter around it. And so I say, are you going to be somebody who walks out and leaves that for somebody else to clean up? Or are you going to get the towel, the extra paper towel, and wipe it off yourself? Be that type of person.
Yeah, that initiative is great. It reminds me actually of Mayor Harvey Hall, who was very adamant about picking up trash, and he actually did it himself. He went to India, and I have a lot of friends in India, and I heard about how he picked up trash while he was there, and then people were like, why isn't our mayor picking up trash? And it kind of created a trend over there. So it can be very impactful just to take that initiative. So I appreciate that. In terms of bigger challenges, what are some bigger challenges that society shouldn't ignore that we should also bite into?
I think we have to embrace opportunity and look for ways to build each other up versus viewing people as always in direct competition for us. So how do we embrace an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset? And you see this happen amongst regions, within regions. So you see somebody else's success, and there can be this temptation or sometimes tendency to just jump to criticize or to tear down, to attack. But we just need to realize that other people's success doesn't necessarily come at our expense, and we need to find ways to cheer each other on.
I think that's a really important motto for community to consider. And speaking of community, what role do you see community playing in advancing a better world?
I think that we want to think holistically about every stakeholder in a community. Oftentimes, people who have fewer resources, maybe are less educated, live in different zip codes or neighborhoods of the town, have had less of a voice. So I think that it's really important that as we think about what the future looks like and how we build a more inclusive future, that we really are considering who's at our table and how do we set bigger tables. Realizing that doesn't mean that all of a sudden we flip the power structures and just completely go ahead and blow things up. But we really need to understand where people are coming from, and especially if we're looking to design programs or looking to for initiatives, we need to follow the feedback and really understand who are we trying to serve, what are the problems concretely that they actually face, and make sure that when we're designing solutions, we're designing with their feedback in mind, not just what we think should be good for them or we think people need, but what do people actually need.
Mm-hmm. As you serve, in the community and in the world, and you look back on your life, what would you like to see happen as a result of your work and those around you?
I'd like to, hopefully it's a lot longer, but I'd like to, a lot more years. But I think what I would like to be known for is that, Justin was somebody who cared about other people, and who, is somebody who was invested in seeing other people succeed as much as himself, if not more.
Yeah, that's a great, I'd love that as well. I think a lot of people would. And in terms of, challenges, and you mentioned inclusivity before, do you think that in terms of an energy transition, some may call it evolution or transformation, pick your words, do you think it's possible for that to happen and for it to be inclusive? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think that we are in the middle of an energy evolution, I'll say, and looking at what a low carbon future means. And I think when we think about this, we really want to think about, what are the jobs, what are the benefits that are going to be created from these new industries and the growth of a new sector. But also we want to be thinking about the impacts that industry has, right? Regardless of what you're doing, there's always some impacts. And so we want to look for ways to mitigate impacts as they're created, or also, opportunities to make sure that communities that bear maybe a disproportionate burden of those impacts, that they have some type of benefits or some type of compensation or, adjustment, so that we can really look back and say, okay, we did this in a manner that understood what communities' needs were, how we involved them in the process, in the transition or evolution, and then how we made sure that the benefits were benefits that benefited everybody in the community. I like to, say, and I'll credit my advisory team from the Brookings Institution, but it's this idea of how can we put the region on a trajectory of growth that increases the productivity of companies and workers and raises the quality of living for everybody. So we get growth, prosperity, and inclusion all combined together.
Mm-hmm. In this grand process, what's your view? You're heavily involved in the process, right? And in the community. What's your view on Bakersfield being the destination for innovation?
I think that Bakersfield is a place where people can come and truly find opportunity. I don't think that, sometimes you can go to places and it can feel very insular, very exclusionary. But I think Bakersfield is a place that rewards hard work. It rewards grit and determination. I'm a first-generation college student, grew up solidly middle class. But the opportunities afforded by this community and within the community to me have been tremendous. So as I now, where I've been able to, arrive sounds very, I've arrived. But the place where I've been able to get to now has given me the opportunity to also give back and invest in others. So when I think about destination for innovation, this is a place for risk takers. This is a place for people who are resilient and are ready to roll up their sleeves and get to work.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do and a lot of opportunity, and I appreciate everything you're doing as a part of that. Where can people reach you to get involved and to work with you?
Absolutely. LinkedIn, you can find me, Justin Salters. I might be the only one, maybe not. Also, our company, Hey Salty, Hey Salty.com. And then also, if you're interested in the work I'm doing and we're doing with B3K Prosperity, our website is b3kprosperity.org.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time. Thanks for taking the time and sharing your insights and your journey with us. I definitely encourage everyone to reach out to you and appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Les. I really had a good time on today.
Awesome. And thank you for joining us on the Destination for Innovation. That is it for today. Be sure to tune in next week. Connect, collaborate, and create with Justin. See you soon.